This is the new Baltic Scalegraph Special Edition for the Tour Auto 2025. Baltic is a French company and Tour Auto is this vintage car race that takes place in France every year, and this is the third time that Baltic is the official sponsor of this race, and this is the third special edition of the watch that we get for this race. In today's video, I will do a full review of this watch, point out all the positives and the negatives as I find them. But now let's talk about the case and the dimensions. This model is 39.5 millimeters in case diameter. It's about 47 millimeters from one lug to another. The lug opening is 20 millimeters, and this watch is about 14.1 millimeters in case height. So this watch is slightly thicker than the last year's release. It's about half a millimeter thicker, but that's because it comes with 100 meters of water resistance, as opposed to 50 meters of water resistance like on the previous version. To assist with this higher water resistance, we do have screw-down pushers for the chronograph. I know some people are not huge fans of having screw-down pushers. Personally, I don't mind them. I think they're all right, but they are a little finicky to operate, especially if you need to operate the chronograph in a hurry. The crown, on the other hand, is not screw-down crown, which is a bit surprising. So they were able to achieve 100 meters of water resistance without having a screw-down crown. However, the pushers do have to be screwed down. Also, the watch features a screw-down caseback with the special engraving and a limited edition number. The one I'm reviewing is, of course, the 000 serial number, because this is a review sample. If you do end up buying one of these watches, you will have one of the limited edition from 1 to 400, and it's kind of cool to unbox your watch and see which number you got. On the front of the watch, we have this pronounced domed sapphire crystal. I think the sapphire crystal does a lot of heavy lifting with the design of this watch. It really makes the watch appear vintage inspired. It almost looks like a vintage racing watch, which I quite like. It also has very cool distortion angles. Even if you look at some of the press releases for this watch, it looks like the borders around subdials are warped, but they're not actually. It's just the reflection from the sapphire, which I personally am a big fan of. I really like when domed sapphire crystals create these weird distortions. It is very vintage watch. We also have this aluminum bezel insert. It's not a ceramic bezel insert. And again, this choice of material, I think, harkens back to vintage racing watches. We do have the tachymeter scale featured on this bezel. Also, the bezel has a very interesting finish to it. I think that's the other reason why they chose aluminum. You can't really get this effect with the ceramic, but you can get it with aluminum. It creates almost this sunburst effect. In certain lighting conditions, it almost looks like there's a gradient finish to this bezel, which I'm a big fan of. The last part of the vintage design language on this case are the drilled lug holes, which I think look very good with this overall case design and the style that Baltic is going for. Looking at the dial of this watch, that's where things get really interesting to me. I love how this watch looks. Big fan. I think this is the best looking chronograph that Baltic has released so far. I really like that big eye design where one of the subdials is larger than the other. The subdial at the 3 o'clock position, that's of course the one that tracks minutes for the chronograph. It's larger than the subdial at the 9 o'clock position, and that is this other vintage inspired design element. We still have the 12 in Arabic numerals for the 12 o'clock position, and instead of having Arabic numerals for the rest of the hour marks, now we have these hashes. And the way these hashes are applied, they kind of look like a wheel in motion almost. That's the way I read it. And in combination with other design elements on the dial, I think it all works really well together. The other part that I really like about this watch is the color combination. So first we have this baby blue, almost metallic-like color. Majority of the dial is taken by this color, and it really changes itself based on the lighting conditions. In some lighting conditions, it looks very light. In other lighting conditions, it looks dark. We also have this creamy color for the two subdials. And lastly, we have this darker blue color for the outer minute track, which is creating this very nice contrast. There is a subdial at the 6 o'clock position, but it is sort of hidden. So this watch almost looks like a bicompax with the two subdials, but of course it has the third subdial. So it's a very clever design. and that's one of the reasons why I like it. The design of this watch is based on the tri-compacts that Baltic offers, but I think with this model specifically, they sort of broke away from this exactly the same design language, just in a different color scheme, and now this watch became its own thing. It is different enough, even though you can still tell that it's part of the same family. There is a bit of lume on this dial. You can see that the set of hands, as well as these dots around the dial, are lumed. The lume is not outstanding, but it's good enough for this sort of racing type chronograph. When ordering this watch, you have a choice between two different bracelets. You could choose to have it on the Beats of Rice bracelet, or you could choose to have it on the flat link bracelet. I think on the Beats of Rice, it looks a little bit better. However, for the review, I do have this one on the flat link bracelet, which is very familiar because it's actually exactly the same bracelet as the one I reviewed on the Tri-Compacts version. It's pretty good and it fits into the case well. It is a very smooth bracelet, easy to wear. However, because the watch got a little heavier, the watch head itself, because now the watch is slightly thicker, the bracelet feels kind of underpowered. So in surprising turn of events, I wish this bracelet was a little heftier. But other than that, no real complaints with it. It still comes with a couple of micro adjustments. It is also pretty solid feeling in terms of the links themselves, because you do use screws for resizing, and Baltic even provides you with a little screwdriver to make your life a little bit easier. There is a quick release mechanism for this bracelet, so you can easily swap it for something else, like for instance, this blue suede leather strap. So that's included with every watch, which I think changes the look of the watch completely. It makes the watch look a lot more dressy as opposed to sporty on the bracelet. The strap quality is pretty good. It has the suede finish on the top and the leather on the underside. Simple hardware, just a tank buckle, again with quick release. So you can easily swap between the strap and the bracelet on the fly. You don't need any tools to do so. When I heard about this watch being a little thicker than the previous version, I got a little worried, but I'm happy to say on the wrist, you can't really tell this difference. I think Baltic did a great job sort of distributing the case height. So even though the watch is about 14.1 millimeters in case height, it still feels around 13.5 or so. Here's the side-by-side shot with the older version of this watch. And as you can see, the difference in height is pretty much imperceptible, and I'm happy to say on the wrist it is also imperceptible. And what I mentioned about the bracelet being a little bit too light for the watch, it is not really a problem on the wrist. Only when you sort of hold the watch itself in your hand, then you kind of wish that the bracelet was heftier. However, on the wrist, I think it is very comfortable and it is pretty well balanced. I'd say this watch wears true to its size, maybe slightly larger, like a 40.5 millimeter watch instead of 39.5 millimeter watch. But even if you have a bit of a smaller wrist, you should still be fine wearing it because the first link sort of hinges in and the lug to lug distance is about 47 mil. So you should be okay even with the smaller to medium sized wrists. If you have a very large wrist, yeah, then, maybe explore some larger options in racing chronographs. At the same time, I think these watches are meant to be a little bit on the smaller side to sort of harken you back to those vintage 1960s, 1970s racing chronos. In terms of the movement chosen for this one is the Sellita SW510-M. M stands for manual wound. This is not an automatic chronograph movement. It's a high beat movement that beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it comes with about 63 hours of power reserve. It's a great, solid, and accurate movement. These movements are based on the Valjoux architecture, so they're pretty easy to service. Pretty much any watchmaker can service them. And overall, over the years, they have very good sort of reputation for accuracy as well as reliability. As I said at the beginning of this video, I love how this watch looks. I think their design department deserves a raise. I also think it's a very cool sort of special edition. It's limited to 400 pieces, and historically speaking, these watches sold out pretty much instantly. The price is okay. I mean, it is on a higher side. It's not a cheap watch, but at the same time, it's a special watch, it's a special release watch, and it's a limited release watch. And if you like the design, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the quality or the performance of the watch if you do end up buying one. I appreciate you watching this video all the way until the end. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos like this in the future, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this new Baltic. Are you picking one up? Are you letting this one go? I always enjoy reading your comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.